All right, boys, before we get into it, this episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. You guys know me, I love to fire on sports, and I've tried every single app, and Prize Picks is by far the best app to fire on sports. Instead of choosing teams, you're choosing individual players. So each player has a set projection, and you either go more or less than that set projection. So if you're smart with sports, and you know what players are going to perform on what certain nights, trust me, download the Prize Picks app and use code NELK. Take advantage of that code and try it out, because I've tried every single app. It's by far the best. You can download the Prize Picks app, use code NELK. Let's get into the pod. For those of you guys that don't know Gary, he's a human biologist. He's co-founder of 10X Health. Just started a new podcast, The Ultimate Human, which is absolutely crushing it, right?
Thank
Congrats.
you. Yeah.
We've become friends with Gary and your family, Cole and Madison and stuff, pretty much through Dana White, which we'll get into too. But we thought it'd be cool to have you on. It's a different type of episode for us too. So we might be asking some dumbed down questions, because our audience is definitely, this is new to our audience too. So I feel like we're going to ask some just like normal type stuff.
And what's cool is we've been on a health journey too.
100%.
I mean, together. You know, we originally connected, not through social media or, you know, any of these other things. We originally connected because you guys wanted to flick that switch and go on this health journey.
I met you at that UFC party. You remember I wouldn't get off of him?
Do you have that photo?
You almost choked me to death at a bar one night. Like, yeah, that was a lot.
What were you thinking right there? Were you just like...
I just felt like there was an overwhelming amount of man love going on. And
His photo.
yeah, there it is. There's see. Yeah.
Well, I was scared
was it Sugar Sean or something?
I think it was
Islam.
It was somebody that you guys were connected with, and you couldn't handle it. Like, I was like, dude, I am not fighting you right now. I am not your opponent. Like, you literally got me in a rear naked choke in a bar.
I was just nervous. I'm
kind of looking at your security guard like, bro, can you get your dude off me? Like, or does this only work one way? So I'm sure if I was choking him, you'd fuck me up.
I'm sorry.
But I'm turning purple here. And you're just hanging out.
Tell us how you started 10X Health. Like, how did that come about?
Well, I was actually in the mortality space. I was a mortality researcher for like big life insurance companies. So if we got 10 years of medical records on you and 10 years of demographic data, we could tell the insurance company how long you had to live to the month. And that database where we got all that information from, if that database could see the light of day, it would permanently change the face of humanity. It would upend modern medicine in a way that would be catastrophic, right? Because they have real data on human beings. Like, you know, insurance companies know the day, the date, the time, the location, and the cause of death for hundreds of millions of lives. So it's not what we think is causing it. It's what we know is causing it. And you go back into the medical record, you go back into the demographic data, and you go, here were the changes, here were the life changes that these people made, or the mistakes that they made that shortened their lifespan, that shortened their health span. And, you know, the sad thing was in that industry, I was not allowed. I'm not licensed to practice medicine, for the record. I'm not a physician. I'm a human biologist. So I was not allowed to have any contact with the patient, any contact with the treating physician. So even if I was looking at your medical record, you were applying for a large life insurance policy, and I saw a life-threatening drug interaction, I couldn't let you know about it. I couldn't even contact your physician to let them know.
Really?
And I saw over and over and over again, I read medical records for a living and pulled the medical information out and put it into a database to predict life expectancy. And I saw over and over and over again, you know, modern medicine attempting to do the right thing, but causing severe illness, making conditions worse, going to treat cholesterol and causing somebody to, you know, crash their hormones and not be able to make cell walls and cell membranes and getting sicker. Or they would have deficiencies in simple things like vitamin D3, right? Which 50% of the people watching this podcast right now are clinically deficient. And 85% of the African Americans and Latino and dark complected populations are deficient in just this little nutrient that we make from the sun. And this deficiency leads to all kinds of conditions that we chalk up to a consequence of aging. You know, weight gain, water retention, poor sleep, poor focus and concentration, poor immune response. It was the second leading cause of morbidity in COVID, was a deficiency in vitamin D3. And this is an easy thing to supplement with. And if it goes on long enough, you'll walk into a doctor's office with rheumatoid arthritis-like symptoms. You don't have rheumatoid arthritis. but your soles of your feet ache when you get out of bed in the morning. Your hips and your ankles hurt. It's hard to make a fist sometimes. And the wrong doctor will look at you and say, you know what, Kyle, you got rheumatoid arthritis. I'm going to put you on something called a corticosteroid, and you're just going to take this pill for the rest of your life. And you start taking this pill, and then 6 years later, you're having a joint replacement. And then once you have a joint replacement, you don't ambulate as well. You're not as mobile. And as soon as you start to reduce your mobility, now all of these diseases from your future that you never would have had start to come into your present, because sitting is the new smoking, right? I mean, sedentary lifestyle is the leading cause of all-cause mortality right now. And so I watched this go.
Just like sitting and working like an office job?
Sitting and working like an office. I mean, human beings don't move, right? Aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. The more aggressively we pursue comfort, the faster we age. That's why back in the biohacking lab back there's all kinds of stuff to make you uncomfortable. Steam rooms, saunas, cold plunges, because we got to stop thinking about stress as something that's negative, right? We got to stop telling grandma not to go outside, it's too hot, not to go outside, it's too cold, just to sit down, just to relax, to eat at the very first pang of hunger. This is collapsing all of our natural defense mechanisms, right? I mean, we were meant to spend more than 85% of our time outside. Human beings spend 97% of our time indoors. We regulate
97?
everything. 97%.
What the?
On average.
Think about how you got here today,
wild.
right? You woke up in a covered house. You went to a covered garage. You got in a covered car.
Yeah.
You pulled into a covered garage. You came up a covered elevator. We're in a covered house now. I mean, there's sunlight coming through the window, but the chances of you spending a large percentage of your time outside. So what happens when you do that? You're disconnected from nature. You think about the last time you had bare feet touching bare soil, like dirt, grass, sand, right? Human beings discharge into the earth. Earthing and grounding is a very real thing, right? And think of the amount of sunlight the average person gets. It's not that we are getting too much sun. We're not getting enough sun, right? I mean, the human body only makes one vitamin. If I pulled your blood work right now, you could see hundreds of vitamins in your bloodstream. You're only capable of making one.
Which is?
Vitamin D3. So when God made us, he made us with the ability to make one vitamin. So how important do you think that vitamin is to human function? Wow. And as we've moved from outdoors to indoors, that level has plummeted, right? And now you see a rise in, all these things like cardiovascular disease and hypothyroid and hypertension and all kinds of mental illnesses. I don't think that we have a mental illness crisis in this country. I think we have a lack of mental fitness, right? We don't think about caring for our minds, caring for our bodies. We just aggressively seek comfort and we age a lot faster. If you look at life expectancy for the first time in measured history, it's beginning to go backwards for the first time.
Really?
Yeah. And life expectancy is not really being extended by modern medicine.
What's the main reason behind that?
The main reason that life expectancy extended was sewers, the invention of sewers, and sanitation, clean water and sewers, getting like waste away from you and getting clean water in you. That was the biggest jump in life expectancies. And then there was another big jump with antibiotics. But since then, if you look at cancer treatments, heart treatments, cardiovascular surgeries, the incidence of diabetes and all these chronic diseases, which, by the way, start in very young ages, right? I mean, that's why I tell everybody that you should this is your temple, right? You should get data on this, like we did with you guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, your transformation was amazing. I mean, a lot of people saw it, right? Mm-hmm. They saw what went on the outside. I got to see what went on the inside. That was where the real game was for me, right?
What's he taking?
So he's taken peptides, right? Amino acid peptides. He's taking peptides that are actually helping to naturally raise his testosterone level. He's taking a vitamin. By the way, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, cool?
I can't
Yeah,
just,
we'll just
go on about his medical records, but he's taking vitamin D3. He's taking a multivitamin that's specific to his deficiencies. We tested his genes. We looked at 5 special genes in him, and we found out what his body could process and what it couldn't. And then we just gave his body that deficiency. You see, most people, in fact, most that are listening to this podcast right now, they're walking around at maybe 50 or 60% of their true state of normal. They have no idea how good normal feels. They are just a few nutrients away from feeling like a superhuman. sleeping like a bear, having the waking energy of a tiger, having the libido of a lion, having a strong, healthy response to exercise, clean, clear, cognitive function, strong waking energy. But we don't get data on our bodies. I take entrepreneurs all the time, sometimes when I'm on stage, and I'll bring them up on stage and I'll ask them questions about their business. And I'll say, hey, how much money did your business make last month? Oh, I made $662,000. Oh, what was your net profit? $144,300. How many employees do you have? 17. What's your revenue for employee? 70,000. What's your hemoglobin A1C? 3-month average of your blood sugar. Where's your cholesterol? Any idea what your testosterone level is? Nothing. They have no data on the temple. They know more about their business than they know about their bodies. And I think this is what my message is about. Like, go out and get some data on your body, gamify your health, and then just watch every aspect of the rest of your life. Just crush it.
Just like anything else you would do. And whether it's entrepreneurship, like you need the data, you need the numbers on what you're doing to achieve something.
So outside of not being as mobile, what are the other like unhealthiest things people are doing?
Well, the sad thing is that our food supply is water supply is really contaminated. And by contaminated, I mean we purposely put chemicals into our water supply, fluoride, chlorine. The human beings are not meant to ingest in large quantities. So think about, I tell people there's 3 things you should get out of your life if you're listening to this podcast. Number 1 is tap water. Stop drinking tap water. It's full of fluoride, especially in the United States, full of chlorines, full of microplastics, even pharmaceuticals now. So what we did was, during the Industrial Revolution or the Agricultural Revolution, we started making fertilizers called phosphate fertilizers. And when you make a fertilizer, you have a waste product called fluorosilicic acid. So we didn't know what to do with this waste product because if we left it in the fertilizer, it would kill the seed. So we took it out of the fertilizer and we decided to put it in our municipal water supply as fluoride. So now we know now it's not up for debate. The science is on my Instagram if you want to see the links to it. The National Toxicology Program just put a big, huge clinical study out about it. So we put this fluoride in our drinking water. It's a neurotoxin, right? So, and then the way that we raise our food, we spray our food with something called glyphosates. This is found in Roundup. Glyphosates is one of those chemicals that's so deadly that it actually kills the seed. So then we genetically modified the seed, and now you have this glyphosate in our food, you have this fluoride in our water, and so we're kind of micro-poisoning ourselves all the time.
What's the reason that they're putting the fluoride in the water and the phosphate on the, what's their logic for that?
Well, I mean, their logic is that it prevents dental decay, right? So there is very, very, very marginal, horrifically weak data that marginally indicates that there might be slight positive impact on protecting the enamel of teeth with fluoride. So they jumped on that and they said, now we have a place to dump all of this industrial waste, this fluorosilicic acid that we're getting from making fertilizer. So we're going to dump it in municipal water supplies. But without an exception,
that's fucked.
Dude, it's super fucked up. Without an exception, if you look at the municipalities that put fluoride in their water, as fluoride goes up, IQ goes down. So the more fluoride in the water, the lower the IQ. That's a material fact. In 52 of the 54 studies that they did, they found an inverse relationship between IQ and fluoride. So, I tell people to wake up and sort of, just take charge of your own health, get some data on your body, put an imaginary fence around yourself and filter things before they get to your body rather than letting your body be the filter.
What's one common thing that you see in your patients that they lack that you see in their data? Average?
One common thing that we see, and I don't want to use the word patient because I'm not a doctor, but clients that I work with, because I have a huge clinical team, and my doctors always, do the treatments on the patients. But we see this start in very, very, very young populations. I'm talking about people in their 20s. Okay, there's something called metabolic syndrome. Okay, metabolic syndrome is one of the leading causes of cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death. And we think of cardiovascular disease and heart attacks and all this kind of stuff is shit that happens to old people, right? Oh yeah, my grandfather died of a heart attack. My great-grandmother, she died of a stroke. But this doesn't start in late in ages. This starts early in life, right? And it just nibbles away at you. So what's metabolic syndrome? Abdominal obesity, poor cholesterol, like poor HDL cholesterol, poor blood sugar, what's called hemoglobin A1C, very high levels of insulin, high levels of fat in the blood. If you have 2 of those 5, you have metabolic syndrome. We see 5 of those 5 in younger and younger 20-somethings all the time right now. And it's easy to change. We call it a modifiable risk factor, right? Stop eating GMO foods, stop drinking tap water, get seed oils out of your life, get some data on your body. You materially will change the entire trajectory of your life doing simple things. Expose your skin to sunlight. Take your shoes off and touch the surface of the earth. Learn to do a little bit of breath work. Take a cold shower. Like simple things that you can use to challenge your life, challenge your body and strengthen it. How much better is your business running now that you guys are paying attention to your health?
A lot.
Everything works
Everyone's
well
just
after
more
the gym.
positive, more
Yeah.
energy.
Dude, this dude comes in and he's like, man, I'm going to the gym right after this. I feel freaking
so
great. I'm eating 4 meals a day. I feel
great.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like what you said, and you say it's your drug of choice, which is that referring to the
Yeah,
cold
the cold
plunge or
plunge.
just everything in general? Honestly,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
everything
Like,
in general, but my real drug of choice is the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Dana was talking about it on the podcast. What cocaine buzz lasts 9 to 12 minutes, cold plunge lasts 6 hours.
Is it the same buzz though?
Well, I guess we could run a clinical trial on it. Do you want to participate?
Do some testing tonight.
Yeah, we'll do some
I
testing.
only know how the cold plunge feels, but yeah.
Okay. Come on.
You didn't want to go to
I'm on
anatomy.
Which one do you
signing.
like better?
Prefer the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Because
He prefers the cold plunge. There you go.
It doesn't alter your face or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't alter your face. It doesn't make your mouth
You're
lock
not-
shut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're not just like the place where cocaine is accessible and the places that cold plunges are accessible is like how do we get a cold plunge in 11 at 6 a.m.
Yeah, yeah.
when like you're a little too hammered and
Yeah,
you really
so
want to
they-
get this chick home? You know what I mean? Like there's
They
just no
should
cold
put.
plunge
I know the owner of 11. I'm going to talk to him about putting cold plunges in there. Maybe drop the drug
Let's stop
habit.
the drug problem.
Be like, yeah, you can you don't have to
They
go into
honestly
the
might
stall,
solve
brother.
it.
Just bang a right and just get in the cold plunge for 5 minutes and go back.
How bad?
Actually, that's
how
a
bad
real
is
idea.
cocaine for the body?
It's actually not the cocaine. It's what's in the cocaine right now. I mean, cocaine is Russian roulette nowadays. It's not the cocaine of 10 years ago. There's so much fentanyl in street drugs, and it's creeping into things that you wouldn't even consider to be street drugs. And so it's Russian roulette because 10 years
that's
ago,
a scary thing.
yeah, I mean,
Seriously,
if you were out partying, there was not a lot of likelihood that it was laced with fentanyl, and fentanyl is one of those drugs where you're fine, you're dead. You read about it in the paper here in Miami all the time. A bunch of guys come down, your golf buddies, they party one time a year, they get together, they go out, they go to a club, they get a hold of something like that, and then fentanyl, they get on the wrong side of that, catches up with them.
So what? Cocaine without fentanyl is not as bad, or like?
Well, I'm just,
Listen, a lot of our audience.
I'm
probably
not
does
taking the
cocaine.
bait, man.
No, I'm just actually asking.
What are the
I mean-
effects if it doesn't have fentanyl the next day?
Not nearly the risk that if it had fentanyl. Same with marijuana. I mean, the effects of marijuana without fentanyl are going to be a lot riskier if there's fentanyl in
Would you
marijuana.
say
And it's in
drinking is
everything.
worse than
Like,
cocaine?
That's an interesting question. I think the cocaine is riskier, right? I mean, it's cocaine could kill you.
Yeah.
And you'd have to drink a lot to die. But there are no studies supporting safe levels of alcohol anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a bunch of junk studies that said a drink a day keeps the doctor away, or the French have lower cardiovascular disease because they drink a bunch of wine. That's complete nonsense.
The degens made those up.
Yeah, it's like, it's not the alcohol. It's what the alcohol becomes. That's why I'm a fan of your brand, because you guys are at least trying to, I'm not going to say alcohol is healthy, but
Yeah.
you're making like a healthy alternative. You're at least taking steps to say, hey, look, we know everybody's going to drink, and I don't have an issue with it either. But if you're going to, at least drink the cleanest thing that you can.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a fan of your product. I'm a fan of, tequilas, because it's going to happen. So, we can just mitigate some of those risks.
What's the worst thing you could drink? Beer.
Beer
In
is
terms
one
of
of the worst.
if you want to get shredded.
Oh, dude, well, then it's the worst thing. Yeah, because think of where beer comes from: hops, wheat, barley, grains, and these are sprayed with folic acid. 44% of the population can't even process folic acid. So first of all, you're getting the inflammation from that. It's destroying your mood. There's empty calories in most beers, but a lot of times it's what the alcohol comes from. Grains, potatoes, hops, barley, really cheap sources, the GMO foods. So when it comes from those sources, it's in that alcohol, and then you put that into your body. Look what happens when you you reduce the amount of drinking, that you're doing, or you switch from things like beers, which are just full of empty calories and inflammatories, to other things like a seltzer or clean tequila and water. It's a material change in how you feel the next day. And remember, 44% of the population can't process those grain-based.
How do you make the
alcohols.
whole, like, if you're partying, going out for a night drinking, how can you make it the healthiest and like least risk of like a hangover?
Hydrate and B vitamins, right?
So if I'm about to go out, I just want to drink as much water as possible.
Yeah, drink water, cocktail water, cocktail water, cocktail water. Because first it's the dehydration, right? And then it's the amount that's processed through the liver. So the alcohol becomes something called acetaldehyde. That's the poison that goes up and makes you feel like shit. And then you get acidic, and that's why you just don't feel well. So I mean, if you wake up in the morning, actually do some breath work. If you had access to breathe oxygen, but if you could just wake up in the morning, get out in the sunlight and do some breath work, get in a cold plunge, get in a steam room, and hydrate again, you can be over a hangover in
With
90 minutes.
With talking about hydration, why do you think hydrogen water is like the best? Because you were explaining it to me earlier.
Hydrogen water is the best water you can put in the human body. That little thing that I gave you right there, that's from Echo H2O Echo water. That little thing, you pour your spring water in there, or you pour your bottled water in there, and you hit that little button, and it adds hydrogen ions. There are 1,400 studies on the positive impact of hydrogen on human beings. They're looking at it for things like Parkinson's and neurodegenerative disorders, but it helps you digest food. It helps you break down your supplements. It feeds a whole class of bacteria in your gut called hydrophiles. It's the way it occurs naturally in streams that are running in nature. So if you can take your water and pour it in one of those things, turn that thing on and put the hydrogen ions in there and then drink it, game changer. You let me know how you feel in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
It's a
it.
game
We were
changer.
talking about it before.
This drinking thing too, because I think a lot of people want to know, how do you like Steiny said, when you're out and you're trying to let's say because I was trying to do this too. I was trying to get shredded, and I'm obviously going to go out and party and once a week. That's what I tried to do. So how do you when you're drinking something, what are you looking for? Are you looking at the calories? Are you looking at the carbs?
I'm looking at the source, right? So the best alcohol is tequila, right? Comes from agave, so it's processed slower through the liver. It also is not grain-based, so the grain-based alcohols are a little worse. And then you have seltzers and clear alcohols. So you guys are right there. Then full-bodied red wines, and then everything else. I would put beers and sweet infused alcohols at the very bottom. I mean, there's nothing worse than sugar and alcohol, right? Those two, that is a deadly combination, right? Because the sugar will get processed first, the alcohol will build up, and then it'll all hit the liver, and you'll feel like death. Yeah,
What's
you
like
ruin
a sugary, like a Red Bull vodka?
Like Twisted Teas.
Yeah, like
and
twisted teas or like peach schnapps or like
Those have
any of those
26
liqueurs.
grams of sugar a pop.
Dude, that's insane.
what is
And you could
mixed?
put down like vodka Red Bull.
Yeah.
Oh my God, full sugar Red Bull and a vodka.
And that's the caffeine too.
yeah,
so
and you feel like you can't be killed by a bullet until 4 a.m, and then the next day
So that's going to
feel
give
like
you
you
the
got
strongest hangover.
steamrolled.
Yeah.
That is the worst kind of sugar. The worst hangover is high sugar and high alcohol in combination on an empty stomach. That is an absolute recipe for disaster.
I don't
right?
drink Red Bull vodka.
Not drinking on an empty stomach will mitigate it. Hydrating while you drink will mitigate it. Drinking seltzers or tequilas will mitigate it. But at some point, enough alcohol is enough.
Wine has a lot of sugar though, doesn't it? Isn't
Yeah.
it like 5 grams of sugar in a glass of wine?
Especially like white wines, white wines and Prosecco's and things like that, super high in sugar. I mean, if you ever get really, really wasted, wine wasted or champagne wasted.
Wine hangovers are the worst.
What's the
But it's a
difference
fun
between
draw.
calories in like wine or red wine and white wine then? Or the sugar?
Red wine tends to have fewer calories, full-bodied red wines than most whites. Like Chardonnays and Proseccos and Rieslings. Those are super high in sugar. And like you look around a club at night and everybody's just slamming champagne, and they feel amazing because the carbonation actually gets the alcohol in your body faster. And then the alcohol hits you, and then there's some caffeine in there too. So you're like you're up all night, and then when that sugar and alcohol hits you, that is a steamroller.
Is the wine is good for your heart? Is there truth in that? Or
Resveratrol is good for your heart. That's what's in red wine. So you can take resveratrol and not get the alcohol. You don't need the alcohol to combine with the resveratrol. Resveratrol is amazing. Lengthens telomeres. It's a telomerase lengthener, which is one of the measures of how old you are biologically. It's good for your cardiovascular system. And resveratrol, I take resveratrol every day.
This is the most degen health podcast you've
Dude,
done
we
so far.
just went like right off a cliff. Like I thought we were going to talk about like my journey in the health space. You know, like is cocaine better than tequila? And everybody in the background here, by the way, is taking notes. They're like, okay, stop the cocaine.
I think our whole audience has a notepad out right now. I swear to God.
Yeah. No, this will be huge for a lot of people.
What got you so curious into this whole health stuff? Like, when did you start with that?
You know, it was a career that I regretted, which ended up being the greatest gift to me. You know, I went to undergraduate for biology. I went to grad school for human biology. And then when I graduated, I got into the space, in the insurance space, which I was fascinated by the data, right? I was like, you know, I get to read medical records and crunch all this data. And we built this model called a probabilistic model. Very accurate, by the way. I get a lot of flack online about it. Like, well, if you could predict, you know, how many more months somebody had left on Earth, you'd be Jesus, or you would have won a Nobel Prize. It's not my science, you know. It's the science from the industry. It's some of the most accurate science in the world. I mean, there's no other financial services industry on the planet that would take that level of risk on a single variable, right? I mean, when an insurance company's getting ready to put $25 million worth of risk on your life or $50 million worth of risk on your life, only one thing matters. How many more months do you have left on Earth? So they are very good at predicting that. If you look at what happened in the 2008, 2009 financial services crisis, we had 364 banks fail. You didn't have a single insurance company fail, not one, right? So they're very good at what they do. A valid death claim in the United States has never failed to have been paid, ever. So they're very accurate at what they do, and it's because they follow the data, right? I mean, watch what starts happening to people that have had multiple vaccinations and multiple boosters. You're going to see that it becomes more and more difficult, if not impossible, to get large life insurance policies. Why? Because they're following the mortality data. Right. So the same thing is true with certain pharmaceuticals. We knew about the opioid crisis, that they were addictive long before you started hearing about it, because we would actually see it in the medical record. Holy crap, this person had back surgery and they got on pain medication. They never got off. They just went from this doctor to that doctor to this doctor to that doctor. They're 8, 9, 10 years down the road. Pain's gone. They're still on pain medication. So then we would start to use that to impact their mortality. And what really started to bother me was, after doing this for so long, I was so lost in that industry. Like, all I wanted to do was be wealthy, and here I was just predicting when people were going to die, and I had this huge, I had this massive amount of knowledge. I wasn't making a positive impact on anyone, and eventually I just realized that there were human beings on the other side of these spreadsheets. Right? It wasn't just data. And so I left that industry abruptly, and I said, I'm not going to spend one more minute of my life predicting how soon people are going to die. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to help people live healthier, happier, longer lives. And so I started a company called Streamline Medical Group with my kids and my fiance at the time, and we got bought by Grant Cardone about 4 years later. Streamline Medical Group became 10X Health, and then he and his team helped us scale it. So it's really blown up. We did 20,000 genetic tests last month. So the message is resonating, and I'm always cautious to remind myself and remind my partners and our employees that this message doesn't belong to us. I mean, it belongs to humanity. I'm blessed enough to have this flow through me, but this is not my message. And the more that we understand that humanity just needs this information, somebody to sieve through all of the nonsense and to say, here are some simple things you can do to change the trajectory of your life. And it's been awesome being a part of so many people's lives that have changed. I blew up because of Dana White, in a big way, because his transformation was so profound. So many people saw that and they go, holy shit. But what I hope people take away from that is not that it was super expensive, because it wasn't, but maybe I can do the same thing. And you guys have done it.
Yeah. Do you think people get scared away? Because like healthcare, this stuff, it is expensive.
Yeah.
So like for people that, might not have it like that, or they look at like, oh, well, Dana's got all this money, of course he can make that transformation. So I think people might be unmotivated by that.
Yeah. But you know what's not expensive? Sunlight, touching the surface of the earth, doing breath work, taking a cold shower, not drinking tap water. As soon as you start to get some money, put a fence around yourself, start eating organic foods. I'm not saying you have to be a vegan, vegetarian, raw food diet. You have to be carnivore overnight. There's no specific diet. Just eat whole foods, right? If your great grandmother wouldn't recognize it, you probably shouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
Right. So, we take so many things out of a wrapper, and, foods are not meant to be mauve and pink and chartreuse and purple. We put so many of these food dyes and everything. So you can simplify things and making massive impact on the trajectory of your life. So I think, part of the reason why 10X Health has blown up the way that it has is just because the message is really resonating. People are like, okay, I really do need to get some data on my body. I really do need to just make some simple changes and choices in my life that will affect every touch point, in my life. And I keep coming back to you guys because your audience is a younger audience, and don't make the mistake that youth is an excuse for not taking care of yourself. Is that
Makes
goes
sense.
away?
Yeah.
I think too.
Catches
like,
up to you.
when you see, like, I think we're at that age where it's like I'm turning 30 this year, so like my goal too is like I want to be like healthy. Like we have the time now to do it right now.
Yeah.
There's no point in waiting till we're like 40 or 50. Like the fact that we have that opportunity right now to be healthy.
Because I get
is so
hold of a
crazy.
lot of people, not when it's too late, but there's a lot to unwind, right? When you put 30 years of bad decisions on yourself, and then you wake up one day and you're like, well, shit, now I have all the money that I ever wanted. My kids are out of the house. I can finally start to enjoy life, but my feet and ankles hurt so damn bad when I get out of bed first thing in the morning. I don't really care to travel, and you'd be surprised how many people are just accepting these things as a consequence of aging, and they're not. They're not. I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm out of my mind. I feel the best I've ever felt in my life, and I'm 53. I'll be 54 this year. I work out with my son. I travel intensely. My kids are part of my business. We see clients together. We travel together. We're like, it's your health is everything. You only got one temple.
Health is wealth, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of off topic,
as well.
but talking about the youth, how bad is this whole vape and addiction to nicotine?
Well, it's not just the addiction to nicotine. It's how it's the vehicle that we're using to get nicotine, into kids. Because, when I was growing up, everybody was smoking cigarettes, and then it became really gross and kind of uncool to smoke cigarettes. But it's super, super easy to vape, right? It smells like blueberry. It's
Pull it out.
Yeah, and it doesn't infect the rest of the room. If I'm vaping, the people over there are not choking to death. So it was almost better that people smoked, because smoking, made your hands stink, made your clothes smell. People in the restaurants, they outlawed it in restaurants. It became a lot harder to smoke
Smell like
cigarettes.
shit.
Yeah, I never thought
Yeah,
about
you
that.
smell like
That's
shit.
a good take on that.
But now it's just super easy and super accessible.
How actually bad is it for your body?
Well, it's really bad for your body. Nicotine is right up there with heroin in terms of its level of addiction.
What the fuck?
Yeah, not in terms of the
I
damage.
thought,
but-
okay, you said addiction. I was about to say, all right.
yeah,
all
an
right.
addiction.
day.
I thought it was like,
He was like, oh,
I was like, what?
I'm fucked.
No, I heard addiction. I was like, okay.
I really didn't realize this whole podcast was going to be about drugs and smoking and drinking. This may be the first time I've ever spent this much time on that. But you think about it. But now, it's like I saw Andrew Tate talking about smoking cigars the other day, and somebody asked him. They were like, "Well, if you smoke cigars, but you're against vaping," he's like, "Yeah, I know what's in this cigar. It's tobacco." And chopped tobacco and the roll. And he's like, when I look at a vape pen, I'm like, tobacco doesn't come in pumpkin spice, right? So what's happening to that? How are they creating that pumpkin spice? Well, that's a chemical, right? And some of these are forever chemicals. So nicotine causes damage, but these forever chemicals can cause permanent damage. Popcorn lung. So you see respiratory disease in younger and younger ages now. Permanent respiratory disease, what they call popcorn lung, in really young ages. Kids are starting to vape at 11 years old now.
All right, I'm quitting. I'm going to quit.
So
How about Zins?
how about Zins? I haven't really checked those out. Is that just nicotine?
It's like the pouches.
Little nicotine pouch.
Yeah, I'd rather you take straight nicotine pouches than You know, I mean,
least there's no
nicotine
smoke,
in
right?
small doses is linked to being a neurotropic. You know, it's actually
So Zins are
proves
confirmed
brain
better
activity.
than darts.
I would much rather you take, if that's just pure nicotine, take that than smoke a vape or smoke cigarettes, because that's where the delivery system is creating the damage, right? You know, a lot of times the delivery system is creating the damage.
It's fucking dude, 11 years old.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
crazy.
it's crazy how young they are, because it's not really so taboo. It's like a, you know, a blueberry vape or, you know, pumpkin spice vape, and they can just throw it in their bag. Mom and dad don't know they're doing it. The whole house doesn't stink. It's not like they're doing bong hits in their room.
Yeah, you can hide that pretty easily too.
Yeah, you can conceal it pretty easily. I mean, it's crazy how, you know, that's one of the hardest things that I work with clients too, is to get them, you know, get them off of those things. Which, by the way, the cold plunge works great for. Right, you can replace that dopamine hit with a cold plunge. I mean, if you smoke or do anything else that raises your dopamine, you do blow. Just do that, and then the next day try getting in a cold plunge for 3 minutes and get out and see how much better you feel longer, and then you'll have a new drug of choice. It's just that a lot of people they haven't thought about that option. Right, I could tap into that same feeling that I'm chasing with cigarettes or vape or with cocaine. I can actually get that feeling and have a positive, you know, result. So I'm not against you trying to feel the way that those things make you feel, but maybe you just make a different choice on how you get there.
You just lose the bonding experience with cold plunge.
No,
in the
it's still-
deep talk.
Dude, we
Still
should
bonding.
actually we should actually go through the biohacking lab.
should
I'm
actually.
very down.
After
Oh,
this,
yeah.
we'll-
There's a lot of
we'll-
cool
after
stuff.
this,
Oh, I
we'll
mean,
do
last
it.
time you were here, you and Gabe and I,
Yeah, we did it.
Gabe's off camera over there, but yeah, Gabe did it. That was your longest cold plunge too, wasn't it?
How long did he do? You probably shred some weight when you're shivering, right?
It is actually really good for weight
It
loss.
burns the most
Well, no, that's
calories.
what I've
doesn't it?
heard.
Yeah, I mean, for the amount of time, it really does. I mean, it raises your metabolic rate. I get you know, like the haters on Instagram are like, there's no direct evidence that cold plunging, you know, causes fat loss. That's absolutely not true.
It does
I mean,
burn calories,
Dude,
right?
It burns calories. It activates something called brown fat. I mean, there's a cost to raising your
I did
temperature.
6 minutes one time, and I think my body was shivering for 30 minutes after.
Yeah, was it really cold?
Really cold, but like I could feel it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no evidence that colder is better or longer is better. I keep it at 48 to 50 degrees. I'm in there for 3 minutes minimum, 6 minutes maximum. You feel freaking amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a contest now on Instagram. Well, I get it at 37 degrees. I get it at 33 degrees. You know, I get
What
freaking
about
liquid
now,
nitrogen.
Now there's like the debate, like don't do it after a workout, do it before your workout.
Yeah, you should do it before a workout, because you think about
So don't do it after.
don't do it
If you're
after
trying
a
to gain
workout.
muscle?
If you're trying to gain muscle. I mean, think about what
Wait,
happens
why?
when you
Yeah.
work out, right? So let's say you did a heavy squat workout and you just tear a bunch of quad muscle. Okay, what does the body do? It's going to send more blood flow there. It's going to send more amino acids there. It's going to pull something called creatinine out of the muscle. It's going to send it help. It's going to send it proteins and it's going to send it oxygen, and it's going to pull carbon dioxide and pull inflammatory materials out. It's going to repair that tissue. Why would you want to shut that down right after you damaged it? The whole idea of going to the gym is to tear muscle. And then the body repairs it and it grows back larger, right? So that's what you want. So you want to cause that injury and then allow the body to heal it. So if you get in a cold plunge prior to exercise, it's actually smart to get hyperthermic after exercise. So go into a sauna when you're done working out, like a dry sauna or an infrared sauna. I mean, that's a great thing to do afterwards, or just take a regular shower, right? But don't get into a cold plunge after intense exercise. You just shut down the gains
Like
that you
at all,
made.
what about like hours later in the day?
Hours later in the day, 4 hours, more than 45 minutes after exercise,
Okay.
you're probably fine.
Add us on NELK Boys, because we are posting on Snapchat every single day. All the crazy shit that's happening, we're posting it in real time. It's literally like a daily vlog. We have over 2 million followers on there. It's getting over like 1 million views a day. It's crazy. Search up NELK Boys, add us, because if you guys want to see all the crazy shit that's happening in the fucking NELK world in real time, Snapchat is the best way to do it. Just want to tell you guys that quick. Let's get back into the podcast.
This might sound like a vague question, but what are the like effects of cold plunge?
So
it
there's
makes
4 main
sense to me.
effects with a cold plunge. So remember, water is 29 times more thermogenic than air. It removes heat from the body at 29 times the rate of air. So when you get into, that's why you can die in 72 degree water. You can't die in 72 degree air, right? So there are plenty of stories of boats capsizing and things and people staying in the water and it's 72, 74 degrees and they got hypothermia and died. So water removes heat from the body 29 times the rate of air. So when you get into a cold plunge, 4 main things happen. One, you get a peripheral vasoconstriction. Your vascular system clamps down to try to save your life. So it shoves all that oxygen into your core, liver, lungs, pancreas, kidneys, up to your brain. Then it activates something called brown fat, which is your thermostat, right? Because the body temperature is dropping. Well, if you're not exercising, how are you raising your body temperature? Brown fat turns on. It takes calories and turns them into heat, right? So it starts to raise your body temperature. So you're burning calories. And the other thing it does is it causes a massive endorphin rush. Endorphins are pleasure hormones like dopamine. And the dopamine buzz lasts 6 hours or more. So now you get a big mood boost. You get a big increase to your metabolism. You get a massive shock of oxygen up to your brain, your liver, lungs, pancreas, kidneys, all of that. And then that's why when you get out, you feel so good. And the other thing that happens is your liver releases a protein called a cold shock protein, right? These proteins, I mean, you want to blow your mind, Google cold shock proteins and just see the benefits of these things. They're free. They're in your liver right now. You get in a cold plunge, your liver will dump them into your bloodstream. You feel so clear, so clean, so awake, freaking amazing. We had a Christmas party here, and like 14, 15 of my staff members came in, and we stayed. And they stayed here with me, and we went out late. We had a Christmas party, then we went out that night. The next day, the entire staff was in the steam room, sauna, the cold plunge, and everybody in like 45 minutes felt amazing.
Because the hangovers are so bad now. Like for me, no, they're so bad that like
it always goes back to that.
No, but you need the cold plunge. Like I need a cold plunge in a sauna after a night out. Like that's I'll probably go on the elliptical for 30 minutes and then a cold plunge sauna. That's the only way to bounce back.
Because you are making the body alkaline again, right? It's acidic because of all the acetaldehyde. You're making it alkaline. You feel amazing. You do the same thing with breath work. So, and I try to talk about things that are readily accessible. I mean, if you got $100,000 lying around, you can buy a red light bed. If you don't have $100,000 lying around, you can take your shirt off and go expose your skin to sunlight, right? I have a hypermax oxygen system, which you breathe high amounts of oxygen on a treadmill. But if you want to dump $5,000 into a hypermax oxygen system, learn to do breath work. I sleep on a PMF mat, pulse electromagnetic field. It makes the body alkaline at night. But if you don't want to drop $5,000 on a PMF mat, touch the surface of the earth. But we don't want to think that these things are so beneficial, but they are. I mean, taking your shoes off and going for a walk on the beach and then going, getting a little bit of sunlight and then going back into your condo, it's like, man, I feel
What does that
amazing.
do, the grounding?
So grounding causes you to discharge into the earth. Human beings build up a charge, right? So if I actually pricked your finger right now and put your blood on a slide, we can do it if you want. I got a microscope in the other room. And we put your blood on a slide, you would see that all your red blood cells are kind of clumped together and stuck. Right? Like too many cars trying to take the same exit. As soon as you contact the surface of the earth, you discharge into the earth. You ground with the earth. And when that happens, all of those cells start to separate again. They have the same charge. Remember, if things have opposite charges, they attract. They have the same charge, they don't touch. That's what you want in your cells. So you can get into that state by taking your shoes off and going for a 5-6 minute walk on the surface of the earth, touching the sand, dirt, grass. And you'll actually see the changes in your blood. It's part of the reason why you feel so good. It's amazing. It's part of the reason why you feel so good.
And how about breath work? Because I feel like everyone's on the cold plunge wave, but I think like grounding and breath work, they think it looks stupid or it's like
Grounding sounds dope. Walking
well,
on
no,
the
I'm
beach.
saying
Grounding sounds
just
dope.
from what I see. Just from what I
Walking on the
see.
beach, I'll do that all day.
Yeah.
Just from what I see, you're gonna just go and just start walking every day. You're gonna
Stoney,
start
you're not
going
doing that.
barefoot
If I have
and touching
AirPods.
the surface of the earth.
Maybe.
All right,
couple times
I'm
a
pumped
week.
to see you do that.
I think Kyle's calling you out. I think he might have called bullshit on
No,
the daily
I'll
beach
post.
walk
No, I'll post some stories of me doing it now.
every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I mean, I'm super down with that. But breathwork is the same thing. The father of breathwork, in my opinion, was Wim Hof. But there's so many breathwork techniques out there. You can get paralysis of analysis. I'm actually doing breathwork challenge this month. I did a 3-day water fasting challenge last month, and just walking people through an 8-minute breathwork routine where you just take 3 rounds of 30 deep breaths. Take 30 deep breaths, you exhale, you hold your breath as long as you can, because holding your breath raises carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the main vasodilator in the body, not nitric oxide. People take these NO2 supplements before they go work out so they can actually get the pump. The nitric oxide is not the main vasodilator. Carbon dioxide is. One of the reasons why you get vascular while you're exercising and after exercise is because your veins fill with carbon dioxide. So you can tap into these natural things. 3 rounds of 30 breaths. Take 30 breaths, exhale, hold, let the carbon dioxide build up, inhale, hold, let that oxygen go into the cells, and start again. That will also become people's new drug of choice. You feel amazing after doing just breath work. But because it's free and it's so accessible, people don't really want to do it.
What time do you usually do the breath work at? Like in the mornings?
As soon as I get up.
As soon as you get up?
Yeah, so as soon as I get up. I have a funny little path in here. So like I wake up in the morning, I splash water on my face, brush my teeth, then I immediately go in and get in the cold plunge, which I used to not do, but then I was actually watching a David Goggins podcast, and he was like, stop negotiating with yourself.
That sets the tone for the day too. If you could start your day with that,
Yeah.
you can do anything.
Yeah,
Like,
you can.
Yeah.
And so I just walk in, strip down and bang. By the time I'm debating with myself whether or not I should do it, I'm already in the cold plunge. And never have I once regretted it. You get out of there, you feel like you won the freaking lottery, right? And then I go into the other room, I get on this treadmill, I put this oxygen mask on called Hypermax. I walk for 10 minutes, go down to the end of the hallway, get in a red light bed for a few minutes, and then I have coffee. And I'll go right outside and do breath work. And usually by that time, the sun's coming up.
Wow.
First light is another thing too. We don't realize how beneficial the first 45 minutes of light is during the day. All right. Because there's no UVA, there's no UVB rays, so there's no damaging rays. You expose your skin to sunlight first thing in the morning, it will do more to help you sleep that night than anything.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, because it resets cortisol receptors, which is a waking hormone, resets melatonin receptors, which is a sleep hormone. So we get so out of cycle with the sun, again, because we regulate everything. We regulate our temperature, regulate our lighting, that just try for you want to do a really cool experiment for 5 days. Just try getting up in the morning right around daybreak, exposing as much skin as you can to sunlight. Don't go out there naked. Your neighbors, everybody can see me on my balcony, but put a pair of shorts on, go out, expose your skin to sunlight, right? Do a round of breath work, and then take a cold shower. None of those things will cost you 1 penny. Everybody's got a shower. Everybody can see the sun, and everybody can do breath work. And just if you do that for 4 or 5 days, you will never not do it again. You will travel doing that. You'll wake up every day. Your body will chase it like a rat to cheese. Instead of just I'm going straight to the coffee maker, try to get outside, do breath work, expose your skin to sunlight, and then just take a cold shower.
Yeah, you mentioned that helps sleep at night.
Help sleep at night.
I don't know why. I feel like everyone now has to take melatonin or like some sort of substance to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of these drugs, like a lot of these drugs that they use to put you to sleep, zolpidem nitrate, diazepam, all these other things that are not actually helping you sleep. What they're doing is they're blindfolding the brain's ability to wake you up. Well, the brain wakes you up when you're sleeping because you're low on oxygen, right? So what these drugs do is they allow you to suffocate. So when you wake up in the morning, you go, oh man, I hate taking Tylenol PM, because it's still in my system the next day. It's not in your system anymore. That drug's been out of your system for hours. You're feeling the effects of having suffocated for the last 6 hours. That's why you feel like shit. That's why you have a headache. That's why it takes 45 minutes to get the motor going. So I'm not a huge fan of drugs to put you to sleep, but magnesium, melatonin, theanine, those kinds of things are excellent for you to help you sleep.
What else can you do that's natural?
You can do box breathing, which is like, what they do in the special services where they do a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, and another 4-second hold. It'll just relax your mind and help you separate your day from your sleep cycle. So getting a good, no matter what time you're going to bed, try that. Try box breathing. 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. And watch how many times you can trace that square before you pass out. You won't even remember how many those squares you imagine getting around before you're actually in a deep sleep.
How is it working with Jelly Roll? We had him on the pod.
Oh, dude, he's awesome, man. He's first of all, I love his music.
Yeah.
And I love his story too.
Oh yeah.
Did you see his what was his CMAs?
CMA's.
Yeah.
Dude, he just hammered it and
Yeah.
like that 30-second speech.
He's an absolute fucking. That guy's an angel.
He said he's on cold
Dude,
showers.
he is an angel. And he's been public about, working with me, and I'm
Yeah,
so
we talked about it on another
excited
episode.
to be. Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited to be on this journey with him, and he's been very vulnerable about it too. He said, Gary, this is the first time that I felt like my weight is killing me, and I feel like that guy's got a real message for the world. If you really listen to the lyrics in his songs, man, it is deep.
It's crazy.
And you know that those lyrics are coming from a story that is very visceral, very authentic, very real. So, this is what I mean about loving what I do, not feeling like I work a day in my life. You get to meet great humans like that and be a part of their journey. So we're gonna strip about 250 pounds off of him in the next.
And how long you think?
In the next 12 to 14 months.
250?
250 pounds. He weighed in at 494.
250 in a
Winning.
year?
Yeah, he
there
weighed
any
in. I just did 105 pounds on the next podcast that I'm launching at the Ultimate Human is a bookie from Vegas that we stripped 105 pounds off of him, and not an ounce of lean muscle. 105 pounds off of him in 6 months.
Why does
almost
that-
to the
what?
day?
Steiny, lead into your favorite drug question.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
Are we going back to cocaine and fentanyl?
No.
No, that's not.
Because I wanted to leave that one in the beginning of the podcast.
Well, no, I don't know.
Because by the way, those are great weight loss
And that's
drugs
not
with the side
my
effects
favorite.
death.
I don't know why you assume that either.
I'm just I don't know.
No
I've-
experience with any of that in the 2024. But
2024.
no, but
Well, technically.
So like, wow, Stymie really lost a lot of weight there.
After January
Didn't
1st.
eat for a month.
technically.
I guess.
Yeah.
No, but
from the second on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So you've been sober for 6 days. That's awesome. You're on a run.
You gotta start somewhere, dude.
Yeah.
No, but there's this new phase, and I, from the outside looking in, I don't really know anyone on it, but you see it a lot. Like people are now taking Ozempic for just to lose weight.
Yeah.
For me, and I look at that, like you talk about a guy who's gonna lose 250. Well, you said 250 in a year. That just sounds like it can't be healthy for you.
It actually.
And I'm not saying Ozempic is involved, but
it actually is not. And I'll tell you exactly what's involved, but it actually is not. You really have to, when you lose that much weight, you have to focus on detox pathways. Meaning, you have the same number of fat cells now as you did the day you were born. It's a really hard concept for people to understand that when I came out of the womb, I have the same number of fat cells as I do now, because fat doesn't increase or decrease in number; they increase or decrease in size. Right? I mean, the cells turn over, but they increase or decrease in size. So your fat cells get larger and larger and larger. So if you've been, heavy and you progress to obesity over a prolonged period of time, you know what's in those fat cells? Pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, drugs you've done, chemicals, synthetics, histamines, all kinds of inflammatory factors. So when that cell starts to shrink again and turn into energy, it's dumping that shit back into the bloodstream. So one of the things we're focusing on with him is, he's traveling with a nurse now, so he's doing weekly IVs, something called glutathione. He does a topical glutathione spray on his skin to help his body, with detox pathways. He's taking an activated charcoal for the gut so that you can actually sop up toxins in the gut, because you can't just dump all of those toxins right back into the bloodstream. They have to go somewhere. You think of when all that fat is coming off of the body, where is it going? It's going into the bloodstream, the urine, the stool. So it can make you really, really sick. So one of the things that I'm really focusing on with the clinical team and him is how do we get the toxins out of the body? Activated charcoal, glutathione, regular IVs. So you make sure that he's on a specific multivitamin. And in his case, you can use things like tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, or semaglutide, which is Wegovy and Ozempic. The problem with those is that people are using them for vanity, right? And a third of the weight that you lose is lean body mass. And so what happens is, when people drop weight so quickly, they're dropping a lot of muscle and a lot of lean body mass. So you have to protect it with a peptide. You have to be doing weight-bearing exercise. So you preserve the lean body mass and you lose the fat. I mean, when people say they want to lose weight, what they really mean is I want to lose fat.
Yeah.
Nobody means I want to lose muscle. I want to lose ligaments, tendons, bones. I want to demineralize my bones. I just want to lose fat, right? That's what I want to lose. And so the problem with a lot of these drugs is if you just start injecting Ozempic, which is semaglutide, then you're not just losing fat, right? And you're slowing gastric emptying, you're shutting down the gut. And so my personal preference is tirzepatide. In side-by-side clinical trials, it actually did better than Ozempic, than semaglutide at weight loss. But you need to be taking peptides, in my opinion, I can't get medical advice, but I would be on a peptide. I would be on something to sop up toxins in the gut, like glutathione and activated charcoal, and I would be weight training for sure. I just had Dr. Gabrielle Lyon on. She's like the muscle queen. She wrote a book called Forever Strong, talking about how muscle is our metabolic currency. If you want to live a long time, lift heavy weight. And, we talked about Ozempic and these weight loss drugs. You have to be doing weight-bearing exercise when you're on those, or you'll just become skinny fat, right?
Yeah. Well, they also say once you get off it, your metabolism comes back up and you gain that weight right back.
Well, that's not true if you're smart about how you titrate on and how you titrate off of these things, right? I mean, some of those were meant to be on permanently, right? I mean, that seems outlandish to me, that you would be on a permanent, what's called a GLP-1 and GDP inhibitor, because now you're shutting down the body's natural way of accomplishing those things. But for people that where weight is a health risk, morbidly obese, type 2 diabetics, these can be life-saving for them. You gotta remember that you don't use them by themselves, right? Help them detox, weight-bearing exercise, peptides so they don't lose lean muscle mass, get them to a targeted weight, and then safely titrate off of those things. That's what my clinical team does. I don't think that we have anyone that I've seen, our physicians, put somebody on that stays on it permanently.
Because a lot of people, I guess a lot of people online say it's like bad for you, but you're saying that in the proper way, dosed with other things, it's not bad for you.
There's a much greater risk if you're a type 2 diabetic and you're morbidly obese, you have a greater risk of, from morbid obesity and diabetes than you do from the side effects of tirzepatide or semaglutide. But you want to just not take it in isolation. You can use those to have effective weight loss, and you can titrate off of those. I mean, I've seen my clinical team do this hundreds and hundreds of times. So I firsthand knowledge you can do it safely. But people get on it and then they just stay on it. And then once they reach their targeted weight, they're still on it. And now the people are getting that Ozempic face, they call it, where it actually starts to eat the fat out of your face. And your face gets sunken, your eyes start to look really sunken. That's fat that's not coming back.
Well, I was going to say, I know someone who was on it, and he started to look like almost malnourished because it was like, dude, you need to slow down on that.
Yeah.
They lose weight so fast, but they get too tiny.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna eat fat everywhere.
What nutrient deficiency do most men have? And how do you think we should fix that?
So most men are deficient in vitamin D3, something called DHEA, which actually is what testosterone's made from. So if I just was magically able to go into your body and strip the D3 and strip the DHEA out of your body, your testosterone would tank. And you don't have a hormone issue. You have a raw material issue. You have a lack of raw materials. You put those two things back into the human body, very often your testosterone goes right back into the normal range. So, sadly, what's happening with a lot of hormone clinics is they're putting younger and younger and younger men straight on testosterone replacement.
Dude, it's so popular in fitness.
Yeah. I mean, Steve's talked about it publicly, but, Steve will do it. When I first met him, he was 20, how old? I was 22 years old, and he was on straight testosterone injections.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what are you doing? You're 22 years old. You haven't even had kids. I mean,
What's the risk of
that can mess up his kid?
Well, it's not going to mess up his kid, but I mean, it's going to make it hard. First of all, it's going to make it harder to have kids because it lowers sperm production. Mm-hmm. But you develop a dependency on it. I'm not anti that. I'm on testosterone. I'm 53 years old. But if I was 22, I would do everything I could to naturally raise my level of testosterone.
What
Peptides,
can you do? Okay.
DHEA, vitamin D3, exercise, hits cardio. I would do things to naturally, even Tonkat Ali, natural things to try to raise my testosterone, then become dependent on that hormone. Right? I mean, that's a lifelong dependency. If you do it long enough, now you can't get off. And I don't care what anybody says. There is no better hormone than one the body makes on its own. We make bioidentical hormones from yams. You'll never convince me that a yam can create as good of a hormone as the human body, right?
Who's been besides Dana, because we've heard that story, but besides Dana, who's another famous celebrity that's come out and that was your favorite to work with?
Steve Harvey was awesome to work with. Yeah, you were great to work with.
Rest Stephen A.
Yeah.
Plugging your boy, dude. I love that. See, he's got your back, dude.
He actually inspired a lot of people.
No, I know you did, and that's why I love working with people like you to totally honest with you, is because it gets the message out. People are like, oh shit, if Kyle did it, I can do it. Oh, Dana did it, I can do it. So Steve Harvey was an absolute blast to work with. He's a great human. Getting him into a cold plunge was one of the funniest like 3 weeks of my life. There's the conversations I would have with him. Stephen A. Smith was another one that's just because I've admired him on ESPN and just his grit and his authenticity.
He's hilarious.
And then really getting to know him. He's another great human. Really getting to know him and going on this health journey with him. And every one of these guys, Dana, Steve Harvey, what else was really great to work with was Steve Aoki, all the Steves. Steve Will Do It was amazing too. I mean, there's some big ones coming next month that I can't disclose now, but they're just as prominent as those folks. And I don't necessarily want to be known for working with like celebrities and A-listers and athletes. I use them because they have a voice, and that helps get the message out. Right. And the message needs to get out there. And I try to remind people that it wasn't the expensive equipment that they bought. It wasn't, some rare Amazon route that only I manufacture and you have to go through me. I'm the magic man. It was none of those things. It was the diet and lifestyle changes and routine changes that they made. That was 70% of the effect. And then in conjunction with my clinical team, we just went in and dialed in their blood work and dialed in their genetics perfect. I knew exactly what supplement to give them. I supplemented them for deficiency. And you want to talk about magic. Magic things happen in human beings when you give their body the raw material it needs to do its job. Most people that are listening to this podcast are not in the most optimal condition because their body's missing raw materials. They don't have a disease. They don't have pathology. There's nothing wrong with them. Their body is missing simple nutrients. If you test for it, you find it, you put it back, they thrive. And I used celebrities and athletes and A-listers because they just have a big voice. And you look at the struggle. Like Dana White was on a CPAP machine. He was on cardiovascular medication. He was on, blood thinners. He was about to have surgery to widen his throat because he was having a hard time breathing. So bad that he would vomit at night. All of which he's talked about publicly.
Yeah.
He couldn't tie his own shoes. Okay, he could not kneel down and tie his shoes.
I didn't know
heard
that.
Dana say. I heard that. That's
Yep.
wild.
And when I was going through his results, I said to him, Dana, I'm surprised that it's not painful for you to bend down and tie your shoes. And he goes, what the fuck, dude? He took an open hand and he palm slapped the conference table in his office, and all the shit like jumped up on it. It freaked me out. He's like, how the fuck did you know that? And I was like, well, because your triglyceride levels, your blood fat's so high. If you kneel down and create that pressure, that fat's going to pack into the end of your capillaries and it's going to burn like your leg's on fire. He goes, I've never shared that with anybody. And I was like, do you wake up? Do you actually throw up at night? And he was like, the fuck did you know that? Like, because you get so acidic when you're sleeping because your oxygen's so low that eventually you get so acidic, you get sick. You're getting sick from the acidity in your blood. Then you wake up and you start breathing, you return the alkaline state to your blood, and you're going about your day again. And he was like, dude, everything that you just described is so fucking accurate. He's like, what do I need to do? And I said, we need to go on this journey for 10 weeks. You do what I ask you to do for 10 weeks, and I promise you it'll change your life. And that dude has flicked a switch like I've never seen. And he's been so loyal to me. I would say there is nobody on the planet. Grant Cardone was very instrumental, and his partner Brandon Dawson in helping me build the business and get the word out. Dana White was the one that changed my life.
100%.
No question. And that is the most loyal on the planet.
Oh, 100%.
If he's with you, he's with you.
Yeah.
If he's not, he's also not.
You're fucked.
But if he is, he will not be rattled.
I know. You know too.
And that's
try
what
to
I love
explain
about
to people how loyal and how good of a fucking guy he is.
He just
Like, that
makes
guy-
you want to be loyal back to him.
That guy's
Yeah.
a good fucking friend. Like,
Fucking awesome. I mean, he's every single thing that he's ever said that he would do for me, he's done. Everything. Even if he manifested something, he's like, in the next few months, you're going to be on Rogan. Everything that he's ever said, and he's also been very protective of me, which I like. Like, you know, so many people hit him and ask him for access to me, and he's like, I'm not giving you access unless you're really going to be committed to this journey. So he, you know, crazy instrumental. But Steve was a lot of fun to work with. Steve Aoki was a lot of fun to work with, because I like those people that have lifestyles that when somebody from the outside in is looking at them, you know, Steve Aoki won a Guinness Book of World Records for the most traveled artist. Did you know that? I didn't know there was a fucking
What
Guinness
was the
Book of
record,
World
you
Records.
know?
It wasn't a record. It was a Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah, but how much did he
Oh, the
travel?
record was the record was the most traveled artist. I think he did 364 shows. Do you remember, Cole Mermetti?
In one year?
I think he did 364 or 384 shows in a year.
Because those DJs are doing sometimes 2 shows a day
days.
in different cities.
Dude, yeah, he would say how he would do like a pool party in Miami and then use the time change to get to LA and then
Yeah.
do a show at
Same
you know
day.
1-2:30 in the morning in LA. So he would actually just chase the sun, you know, and or the opposite of chasing the sun. And
So do you tell him, hey, you shouldn't do that many shows, or you can do those many shows if you do this?
dude, the only reason why he's able to do that is because he takes care of his health. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. I mean, that guy is on his game diet wise. You know, he's on his game with his hydration. He prioritizes sleep. I mean, his house is a giant biohacking lab too. I tried to get out of doing a 34-degree cold plunge at his house the other day, and he's like, "Oh, you don't want to get in there?" I was like, "Not at 34 degrees." And then he popped on an Instagram live, and he's like, "Well, there's 20,000 people on here." I'm like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" So I got right in there, dude. I'm like, so we got in the cold plunge and we did the sauna, and you know, jumped around in his that foam room that he's got. But you know, he acts like a little kid, but behind the scenes, you know, because he's got that youthful energy, but behind the scenes, you know, he's really conscious of his health, man. He supplements every day. You know, we look at his blood work every few months. We look at his genes. We tweak his supplements. He's got data on his body. He knows exactly where he stands. If sugars start getting out of control, he dials it back in. If his hormones get off, we start to dial those back in. And dude, he's crushing it, man. You see the energy he puts out on stage.
Yeah.
It's insane.
The DJ life is fucking.
And the DJ life's the toughest, dude. I mean,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Talk about a circadian rhythm disorder. I mean, like, you're in London, you're in Dubai, in fact, the last time I saw him, he was actually leaving that day and going nonstop to Dubai to do somebody's private party. So you're talking about time zones, food, air, planes, hotels, just everything jacked up. And and he just burns
Do you
it.
have cheat meals or no?
I do. I'm not that guy that goes to my 5-year-old niece's birthday party and is like, I'm not going to have a piece of cake. I'm not the one that doesn't once in a while go out and have a tequila. I think when you put too many restrictions on yourself, you end up perverting. Something perverts, right? You just can't be that disciplined. Not everybody has Brian Johnson's discipline, although I believe in what he's doing. I just don't think it's practical for humanity. It's what we do 80% of the time that matters, right? Optimal health is about the presence it's about the absence of the good, not the presence of the bad. So in other words, if you're missing the foundation, the bad is really going to hurt you. The occasional drinking, the sweets,
Need a base.
the bender, it's gonna really take a toll. The lack of sleep. But if you're doing the foundational things, you're eating clean food, you're drinking clean water, you're getting decent sleep on a regular, you're exercising, you're so much more resilient. There's a process in the human body called hormesis where you stress it and it strengthens, which is again why I say aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort, because we just stopped thinking about challenging ourselves as a way to fight aging and be in a better state of optimal health.
Why'd you want to launch the Ultimate Human podcast? And
Because I wanted to control the messaging. The Ultimate Human is about a lot about the Ultimate Human is about giving without the expectation of receipt. I really, really, truly do believe that the information does not belong to me. I really believe that it belongs to mankind. I believe it belongs to humanity. And I wanted to control the messaging. I bought my podcast when I first launched it. I ended up buying it back from a group that I had partnered with because I was starting to get ad reads for things like, I won't name the products, but they would have super high amounts of food dyes and caffeines and cyanocobalamin and folic acid and corn syrup and shit like that. And I was like, I was telling my partners at the time, I'm not reading this ad. And they're like, you signed a deal, you signed a contract, you got to read the ad. And I was like, They're like, well, it's not an implied endorsement. I go, well, if I say it, it's like I'm endorsing it. So send them their money back. I'm not reading this ad. And I would get stuff for all these junk vitamins and all these junk products and CBD gummies. And I'm like, I didn't get to the top of the mountain just to become a prostitute, you know? So I said, I'm not reading this, you know, we're at a kind of at a full stop. And I ended up being able to buy the podcast back and so I can control the messaging. I never endorse things that I don't use in my daily life that I don't have firsthand knowledge of. I test the absolute shit out of everything. A lot of manufacturers really don't like me because they'll be advertising this EMF mitigation device. There's one sitting on the table over there, and it's $5,000. And they're like, yeah, we want you to promote this, and we'll give you X, Y, Z. So I say, send the device to me, and then I take EMF meters and electromagnetic measuring equipment, and I start measuring whether or not it's mitigating the field. It's not doing anything. They got red light beds that are $100,000, and I light meter tested them. They didn't even have the wavelengths the manufacturer claimed. You know, their air filter saying, that, we filter things down to 0.1 micron. Then I tested, and it doesn't even filter down to 10 microns. Just like I'm incessant about testing things, and I wanted to control the message. So I started The Ultimate Human as a way to really reach the masses, to kind of get the message out there.
Yeah, it's cool to hear a bunch of people's stories.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I know it's kind of situational, but like if people stick to whatever you tell them to do, you like how much can you increase someone's lifespan?
On average, 7 years. So I can add 7 years to not just to their lifespan, but to their health span. And when I say that, people, again, you know, here comes I can see the comments coming in on Instagram right now. But I say that because I did that for 22 years. So I have data. I know what it means when you fix nutrient deficiencies like vitamin D3 in the body. I know what it means to you when you control your blood sugar over a prolonged period of time. I know what it means when you control your triglycerides for a prolonged period of time. I know what it means when you're not carrying excess body weight, when you're not anemic, when your hormones are in the optimal range. These actually impact your lifespan. That is a material fact. And for decades, there were insurance companies that would take hundreds of millions of dollars in risk on those facts. So they are facts. And so yes, if you get data on your body and you make a few changes, you can add 7 years to your health span, not just your lifespan.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, pretty fucking
7
cool.
years is a
Where
long
did you say
time.
that?
7 years is a long time. I mean, Dana's we almost tripled.
What were you saying it was that really affect your lifespan? I didn't hear that.
Hormone imbalance, nutrient deficiencies, and blood sugar control. Those are the three big things affecting life expectancy.
So what's like the first thing someone can go do to figure out what they're deficient in and like?
So you can get, so the one thing I think every human being needs to do once in your lifetime that you guys have all done is that gene test, right? You do it once in your life. You take a cheek swab, you put a cheek swab in, you swab your cheek, you send it to the lab. You can do it through me. You do not have to do it through me. There's tons of great genetic testing companies that are out there. I look at 5 specific genes because if you look at your entire genetic report, like I could see you have dark skin, dark hair, you have detached earlobes, you can't do anything with that data. What you want to look at is what can my body convert into the usable form? In other words, what can it use and what can it not use? And then you supplement for that deficiency. That genetic test you do once in your life, you'll never guess again on what you need to supplement with. You will stop supplementing for the sake of supplementing, and you will supplement for deficiency. That's when the magic happens in the human body.
It's a pretty basic concept.
It's a super basic concept. You know, I always talk about when I was in grad school, I used to have to take all these. I was getting my second degree in biology, my second one in human biology, and and I had to take all these freaking plant botany courses. You had to study plants, which I hated, but you have to do it. But what stood out to me was it doesn't matter what goes wrong in a plant, the leaf, the root, stem of a plant. If you call a true botanist, a true arborist out to your house, and let's say you got leaves rotting in the top of your palm tree, they won't touch the leaf of the palm tree. They will core test the soil. And they'll go, oh, you know what? There's no nitrogen in this soil. And then they'll add nitrogen to the soil and the leaf will heal, right? Human beings are no different. Right, you have to find out what you're deficient in, which you can test for with a gene test. Once you find that deficiency, you supplement for that deficiency. It's like, bang, holy shit, man! I thought I was affected by anxiety. You didn't have anxiety; you had poor catecholamine regulation because your body was deficient in methylfolate or B vitamins. And you put those into your body and your anxiety is gone. So now that's one anchor up off the ground. And then you're like, man, I sleep like shit. Well, you don't have a sleep disorder. You have a lack of magnesium, lack of theanine. You might even lack adenosine with thiamine. So you put those raw materials back in the human body. Now all of a sudden the mind quiets and you start to sleep better. And then you're like, man, I'm bloated like a pufferfish. I'm not fat, but you're retaining water because your hormones are out of balance. I don't have the energy that I had a few years ago. You don't have energy because you don't have enough oxygen in your blood because your hormones are off. And as soon as you put certain raw materials like simple vitamins, minerals, amino acids back into the human body, this is when, boom, you actually, people really thrive, right? The complexity is in the simplicity of what to do a lot of times.
How far do you think like modern medicine is going to go? Like in the next like 20, 30 years, like are we going to be able to like achieve like?
Well, the best thing to happen to modern medicine, in my opinion, is AI, because AI is now taking such voluminous amounts of data and parsing the data so you can actually make real decisions. So in other words, do people that have high cholesterol really need a statin? Well, it'll look at 21 million articles. It'll look at voluminous amounts of data, and it'll come back and actually fight some of the false trends that we've been led to believe. Modern medicine, I say, is a catch-all, wants you to believe that you have disease or pathology. Because if I can get you to subscribe to the fact that you have a disease, I can get you to subscribe to a lifetime of medication. Okay, and by the time you're 60 years old, most people are on 5 to 7 prescription medications. You'll never convince me that at 60 years old, we need 5 chemicals, synthetics, or pharmaceuticals to be average. That's complete nonsense. If you have heart disease, you're not missing a beta blocker, right? If you have ADHD, you're not deficient in Adderall, right? If you have high cholesterol, you're not missing a statin, right? So the answer is not chemicals, synthetics, and pharmaceuticals. The answer is put nutrients back in the human body and let us do its job. Let's just get out of the way of what God gave us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always look at that as such a negative.
What's
like
that?
Just like, does someone really need to be prescribed Adderall? Is there not any other thing that they can do? Because it's so negative for people.
It is. I mean,
You talked about that on Rogan a little bit, right?
Yeah, I talked about it on Rogan a little bit. Like if your mind's racing, okay, you have 2 choices. You can quiet the mind by using things like methylfolate, complex of B vitamins, B12. You can quiet the mind, or you can let the mind race, and you can pump amphetamines into the body to race the central nervous system to match the pace of the mind, which is what Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, that's what those are. Those are amphetamines, basically legal speed.
Yeah.
Right? So why speed up a system that's not broken to match a system that's broken? Why not just fix the system that's broken? Why not just learn to quiet the mind? Right? And you quiet the mind by putting raw materials in to break down
It's
thought.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. And the other thing too is like, I had friends who got addicted in college. Like Xanax was just like popular, and it literally.
How did
kills
Xanax
people.
become popular? Because that's like
Honestly,
sleeping.
it was like the
becoming
rappers.
popular.
SoundCloud
Probably like
rapper
rappers
phase.
and shit, yeah.
Like they were all talking about it, and then you're in college and you take,
But like
I think they called it getting barred out.
I've barred out. So barred out.
That's what they said. I don't know, but
But I've
it
taken
actually fucks
Xanax
people
before, and I'm like,
Said it like you
how
said it
does
100 times.
would somebody get addicted to this? I mean, I feel like a zombie. But like, if you drink on it, do you feel good? Like,
I
what was the
don't know
deal
about
there?
I've never fucked with Xanax, but
I mean, years
I've
ago,
taken
I
it
just
on a flight, like a long flight before.
Oh,
I could
yeah.
see that, but I'm just saying, like, how is somebody you getting barred out every day or like nibbling on that every day? That's mind numbing to me. I like how I feel after a good workout in a cold plunge in the steam room. I feel like, I'm out of my mind. I drive my wife crazy.
If you were to pick one thing, and you're
Dude, I love how he
Came
just
back to my
comes in
head.
out of nowhere, dude.
No, I actually wanna
took a
ask-
piss. He's wide awake.
so the different things that you have in there, I don't know what to call them. Sorry. If you were to pick one, what would you go with?
If I could only use one thing,
Cold plunge.
yeah, it
Cold
would be the
plunge?
cold plunge.
What's
Yeah.
second? So top 3.
So top 3 would be the PEMF mat. That mat that I lay on at night, it goes in your bed and it runs a low Gauss current through the body, makes you alkaline. So that, because you just sleep on it, you hit a button, you go to sleep. It helps you get into a deep sleep. I love that. You wake up alkaline every day. The second one would, of course, the cold plunge is in there. And I also use a red light bed. You can get the same thing from morning sunlight.
Outside,
I just
yeah.
want to say that. You don't need to spend the money on a red light bed or red light panels. They're expensive. But for me, those are my 3 go-to modalities. And then after that, I would say like the Hypermax oxygen, that oxygen mask that you breathe on the treadmill.
Do you tend to like the outside more than the bed sometimes?
Yeah, I love that outside.
I think that's the best thing you can do
Yeah,
for
it
yourself.
Dude, just take your shoes off and go for a walk, dude. It's insane how good that makes you feel. I mean,
Steiny would say the ground's too hot.
I've always
he's going to do it every day now.
No, but I've
on
always
the
said
beach.
this, like, you can just tell being in Miami, people are so much fucking happier here.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are happy. There's energy. Like,
Yeah.
you go to less, like LA where there's less heat, sun,
Yeah.
or just Colorado where I'm from, and people aren't the same.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I went to grad school in Chicago. I was in Chicago for 6 years. I absolutely learned to believe in seasonal affective disorder up there.
Oh,
I thought that was a bunch of
100%.
nonsense.
Is
Dude,
that
you
a
don't
real
see
thing?
the
So
month.
that's a real thing, like seasonal
Oh,
depression.
God, yeah. Seasonal depression is a very real thing. When you don't see the sun for 4 months, you just want to stay inside and eat pizza.
Yep.
Right? And you feel miserable. You could actually feel the energy. And if you're from Chicago, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You could feel the energy in the entire city shift on that first day of that spring day. Right. When like the sunshine, it was actually warm and people could actually walk outside and it was bright sun coming in the windows. And I worked at the Board of Trade. We would throw all the windows up in the Board of Trade and let the air in. Like the whole mood of the city just shifted. Like, you know, in the middle of winter, people are pissed off.
What can they do? Like just red light bed, I guess, is an option. But
Red light bed is an option. Cold plunge is an option. Breath work is an option. Actually, still getting, even though it's gray in the direction of the sun, there are still sun rays making it through that mistiness, right? So try to keep your, don't pull your shades down. Get natural sunlight into your environment and fucking travel. I mean, get out of there a couple of times a month and get down to Florida or get down to somewhere that's warm and get in some real sunlight and get your feet touching the earth. That's why people come to the beach. It feels so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, so I definitely learned to believe in seasonal affective disorder. And if you look at the incidence of, cardiovascular events, even homicides, they spike in the winters, right? And they spike during those seasons.
How much pressure is Big Pharma like putting on what you guys are doing and the stuff you're prescribing?
I get a lot of it. So I always say, dude, if I ever go missing, I want you guys to open an investigation. Okay,
Gotcha.
I'm not, but I did a podcast with a biologic dentist the other day, about a week and a half ago, Dr. Gandhi, and this guy is one of the greatest oral surgeons in the country, in my opinion, and he talks about like how root canals and how the teeth are connected to the rest of your body. Bacteria that they find in the teeth are the same ones they find in cardiovascular disease. And he did some work on me, and I had him on the podcast. And then, of course, here comes the fact checkers, right? So if you go on my Instagram, it's blocked out, and it says, what do they put over it? False story or something. Click here to find out why. And then there's a fact checker. They never say who the fact checker is, but they say, teeth are not connected to other pathologies in the body. That's completely false. Same thing happened to me when I post, information about seed oils. I'll get fact check and it says, seed oils are not bad for human beings. According to fact checkers, seed oils are not bad for human beings. Well, if you take a seed oil like a canola plant and you stick it in a commercial press and it comes out gummy, and then you degum it with hexane, which is a neurotoxin, and then you heat that oil to 405 degrees and turn it rancid, and then you deodorize it with sodium hydroxide, which is a carcinogen, and then you bottle it and put it on the shelf, you're never going to convince me that that's good. So I get a lot of fact checkers that come and say, what you're saying is false, but it doesn't slow me down.
What's your goal? What do you see like with 10X and Ultimate Human, what you guys are all doing? Like, where do you see it? And what's your goal in 5 years, 10 years with it all?
My goal is to build the most trusted source in the world for chemical-free living, right? To become the Amazon, the Google of chemical-free living. Like when people want to know, how do I live a chemical-free lifestyle? What water should I be drinking? How should I wash my clothes? How should I wash my dishes? What should I put on my skin? How can I just get back to the basics? Where should I get my food from? How can I get grass-fed meats, pasture-raised eggs, free-range chickens? How can I live a chemical-free lifestyle? What sheets should I sleep on? I want to eventually be the repository for that information. And I want to have tested it and validated it and verified it so that people that want to go on this journey can take it as far as they want to go. So eventually, I see 10X Health as being, the greatest company in the world for genetic testing, for supplementation, for blood work. I see Ultimate Human getting the message out about how to live a chemical-free lifestyle and being a trusted source for people to say, what other things can I be doing in my life to be more optimal? It's kind of where I see it going.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Who's your pick for the NELK Boys Challenge? Who do you think can make the biggest transformation?
Well, here's the thing, man. See, you could throw on some lean muscle and look like a beast.
My pick is Salim.
Yeah.
Personally.
See,
I'm feeling good right now.
because you got that leanness. We'll talk off camera. I'll get you on some peptides, and we'll throw some
Hell yeah.
nice heavy lean muscle on you. But I think you got a shot. You got a shot too.
You have to say this now or what?
No, I'm saying you got a
It's like
shot.
the
I'm
pity,
just
like, yo, dude, you could still win.
no. I think you got a little bit of the the bloat, but you could like lose the bloat and throw the muscle on. But Kyle, I think it's gonna be hard for you to close the gap, dude.
I know it is gonna be hard.
But $100,000. I mean,
He hasn't met cousin yet.
shit. Actually, what one of you guys should really
about
do
Gabe?
is offer me like 50 off camera, and I'll only work with one of you, and we'll just go halvesies on it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the other thing I want to bring up. Real quick, is
Cousin's
there's
gonna
no
look good, too.
there's no rules. I think
Yeah.
there should have been a more fair playing ground. Like Kyle has
Yeah.
access to you, Gabe has access to whatever you also gave him.
Yeah, but right now, Colin,
It's
Gabe,
even-
but I'll work with you guys too. I mean, let's do this.
All right,
But
so-
I mean, but Gabe too, dude. Gabe could actually
Gabe-
bring in
Yeah,
a
Gabe,
strong
you're actually
first.
looking really good.
He could, because he's looking fucking good.
Good, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
But he had what 50,000 reasons to look good.
Yeah.
What did Dana stroke him?
How much have you made?
30.
30 grand.
made 30 grand.
Damn.
But how much do you have to lose now?
Is he paying you again? Oh, he is.
Fucking charity.
He's got, dude. Dana has paid. He did the same thing with Stephen A. Smith. I know 3 or 4 people. I've another client right now that Dana's offered money to. Like, he's great for me because he pays my clients to basically work with me and achieve their goals. It's like it's the best of all worlds. They make money, and he forces them to work with me. So. But I'm pumped to see how this challenge comes out. Who's gonna is the fans that are gonna vote?
Fans will
Fans
vote.
are gonna
Okay,
vote.
so
It'll
it's
be March 9th, UFC Miami.
March
so
9th.
we'll all be here, too.
Dude, that'll be awesome.
We're gonna
So
do
we'll
it
go
on
to
the
UFC
yacht.
Just be
together.
there.
You might have to come.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
No,
he
I'll
does some
be there for sure.
Judging.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I be one of the judges?
Yeah.
Probably
100%.
should.
I can just wait. I mean, only be one thing. So
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah. But if anyone wants to go halvesies with you right now, I'll just tell you right now.
We'll talk
I
in
will.
the sauna after.
Definitely.
Well, you
Okay.
and Gabe. Yeah.
All right,
Kind of like
this
the
was
old
awesome,
school
bro.
way
I
to
think
do it.
Awesome. This is great, man. I
It's a
mean, it's
great
long
pod, man.
overdue. I hope your audience got value out
I
of it.
learned a lot.
I
Yeah,
love chopping up
educational.
with
Like
you
we
guys.
said, we had to ask some DJing questions. It's the Full Send podcast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not Joe Rogan.
It's the first time I've had seltzers in the background,
Yeah.
dude. But I love you guys. I love your mission. Love everything you're doing, man.
Yeah.
You're great humans. And
Great to become friends with all you guys. And
Appreciate
we
you,
love
yeah.
hanging out
Yeah.
with you. We'll put the Ultimate Human podcast link in the description. Make sure you guys go subscribe to that. Episodes are amazing. So we
Thank
appreciate you, bro.
rock on.
All right, Gabe. Thank you, bro.
You got it.